John's account of the cleansing of the temple seems so straightforward. Jesus is outraged. Merchants in the temple selling sacrificial animals for the Jewish rituals that ask for God's blessing or forgiveness. As horrifying as that seems to us, animal sacrifice was specified in the Hebrew scripture. It was a piece of the ancient Jews' tradition and culture. But selling animals intended to appease and please God at a huge profit, especially that huge profit, that was not the intention. It wasn't a commercial enterprise. And the money changers. People brought their Roman and Greek coins to purchase their sacrificial animals. Coins that were exchanged in their secular world were abominations in the temple because they were stamped with the pagan image of Caesar, and therefore had to be exchanged for Jewish coins to retain the purity of the unblemished animals. This came with a price, of course. The money changers made huge profits. It's like the ATMs in foreign countries that charge you a whopping transaction fee to turn your American dollars into local currency. The temple, the one place that should have stood for grace and truth, and the world had infected it. Well, Jesus' only option was to pronounce judgment, a whip of cords, animals and merchants driven away, tables overturned. It was chaos. The subsequent heated conversation between Jesus and the temple authorities is where the straightforward narrative takes its theological component. Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace. Can you imagine the fury in his voice? Perhaps Jesus shook in anger. Zeal for your house will consume me, as the disciples remember it was written. This was one of the lamentations of Psalm 69 they were certainly familiar with. It was not infrequent that we hear of Jesus' fulfillment of ancient scripture. Indeed, he is on a journey toward the ultimate fulfillment of scripture. The cross, resurrection, ascension, and Pentecost clarified many Old Testament passages. The Jewish authorities were incensed. What sign can you show us for doing this? What are you doing? Show us. They loved signs, and in Jesus' case, loved to turn them into deception. They tried, anyway. And Jesus' cryptic answer, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. The scornful retort, this temple has been under construction for 46 years, and will you raise it up in 3 days? Well, I don't know about you, but sometimes a phrase or verse of scripture brings to mind some personal experience, like under construction for 46 years. It seems like Richard and I have been working on some home remodeling project or another for that long. There is nothing, even the simplest, that could have possibly taken only 3 months, let alone 3 days. Our construction all started with the kitchen about 10 years ago. It was small, and whoever thought out the design was not really thinking. It was opposite a teeny tiny dining room at the front of the house that was so incredibly inconvenient to get to from the kitchen. We never had our meals in there. It was wasted space. It made perfect sense to tear out the wall and closet between the two spaces, opening up into one great big airy light-filled room, which led to a great idea. Let's swap the spaces. Kitchen in the front, dining area in the back, overlooking the woods. Yes, a great idea that involved completely rewiring the electric and moving all the plumbing. Did I mention new cabinets and appliances? Which led to another great idea. Remove, add, rearrange windows and install a gigantic glass Pella door, further taking advantage of our magnificent view of the wooded valley. Well, a couple of weeks later, what with all the carpenters and painters and electricians and legions of others running in and out, dragging demolished lumber and sheetrock and funky old cabinetry and appliances and linoleum out, and toting bright, new, shiny lumber and sheetrock and cabinetry and appliances and fresh, easy-to-clean tile in, the already nasty living room carpet truly had to go. And we might as well rip out the carpet in the guest room and its bathroom. Yes, there was carpet in the bathroom. And we better rip out the carpet on the stairs. I won't even begin to get into this. It's work upstairs and outside. The domino effect is staggering with construction projects. Great ideas beget more great ideas and additional months and months of work. I'm afraid the rational me has to agree with the authorities on this. 3 days? That is beyond crazy. But Jesus speaks of the temple of his body. Christ's life from infancy to his death was bound to the temple. When Mary had fulfilled the 40-day ritual of purification after giving birth, she and Joseph took the infant Jesus to the temple for the ceremonial consecration of the firstborn. There were 3 festivals in ancient Israel for which devout Jews would make a pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem, as commanded by the Torah. So it was likely Joseph and Mary made that voyage some 33 or so times before they lost Jesus. Jesus was likely 11 or 12 years old when the family traveled to Jerusalem for perhaps the most important, the Feast of the Passover. Unbeknownst to his parents, Jesus stayed behind. They frantically returned after discovering he was not with the kinfolk traveling home. The boy was in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking questions. Well, of course he was. As an adult, at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down." The second temptation. During the 3 years that followed, Jesus was frequently in the temple courts. He healed the blind and lame, and taught as one having authority, and not as one of their scribes. And we have this story. Jesus, infuriated, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace. Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Outrageous. And after he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this. A fulfillment of the scripture, of God's continued presence in creation. Clarity. Jesus, the living presence of God, the new temple created only through the destruction of the old. New life that can only be created through death. Through the establishment of a new messianic community, authentic worship focused not on a place, not on a temple, but the temple of Jesus crucified and resurrected. And through him, God moved into the world, into the streets in the name of justice and peace, and into his disciples' lives, from ancient times to today. We are charged to go forth in the name of Christ, into the streets and dark corners of our hurting world, to be the presence of the resurrected Christ, who tore down the walls of greed and oppression and rebuilt a new temple of love and grace and truth. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face to shine upon us and be gracious to us. The Lord lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace.